Okay, we're going to review Earth cycles, and remember that a cycle is simply something that goes on and on and on. It repeats itself. It doesn't ever stop. We're going to be looking at the lunar cycle, day and night, seasons, and the tides. We are on page 92 of our journal. This is where this handout needs to go, and you can cut it to where it flips open. So get ready to learn about the Earth cycles, and if you watch this video tonight, take these notes, then you should be ready for your quiz tomorrow. You'll know all of the key words and the key things we need to know about these 4 Earth cycles. All right, the first cycle we're going to look at is the lunar cycle. And remember, when I'm talking about the lunar cycle, luna is just a fancy word for the moon. And the first thing we want to remember about our lunar cycle is how long that cycle lasts. And that cycle, one lunar cycle, is going to take 29.5 days, which is approximately 30 days, which is approximately 1 month. So what that means, if it's a cycle, it means it's going to start at some point. So maybe I start with a new moon, and then the next time I see a new moon is going to be 30 more days. So that's what I mean by how long it lasts. At whatever phase I observe, 30 days later is when I will see that phase again. So, for example, if I see the first quarter, then 30 days later, I'm going to see another first quarter. And, for example, if I observe, let's say I observe a full moon on day 14. I decide to observe the moon. On the 14th day that I observe the moon in the sky, I see that it is full. I can make a prediction. I can predict when the next time is I'm going to see a full moon. And the next time I'm going to see a full moon is going to be 30 days later. So I would have to add 30 to day 14. And so I know that the next time I'm going to see a full moon is not going to be till the 44th day. And then if I wanted to know another day I'm going to see a full moon, I just add 30 more days. And then that will tell me the third time in my observation period that I will see a full moon. Remember, there are 8 phases in our lunar cycle. To go through all 8 phases takes how long? About 30 days. And the phases are caused by the moon revolving around the earth and the different positions that they take depending on where the earth is and where the sun is. Remember, when we have a new moon when the position of the moon is directly in between the sun and the earth. Smelly monsters eat nachos. Sun, moon, earth equals a new moon. Okay, on the other hand, if I have my sun, then my earth, then the moon, remember that's smelly elephants make farts. Sun, earth, moon equals a full moon. Okay? And then when the light is getting fuller and fuller, that's when we say the moon is waxing. And when the moon is waxing, as you can see, the right side is lit up. Once I get to the full moon, I have it all lit up. As I start to revolve around, some of that light's going to go away. And when the light looks like it's getting smaller, that's when we call it waning. And when the moon is waning, then it's going to be the left side that's going to be lit up. So that's our lunar cycle. Make sure you wrote your notes down in the little flap and refer to your notes some more as you are studying. All right, the next cycle we're going to look at is day and night. And the first thing we need to remember about day and night is that cycle lasts 24 hours. We are very familiar with this cycle. We wake up, we have day, we go to bed, we have night, we wake up, and then we have day again. So that cycle lasts 24 hours. It is caused by the Earth's rotation. Remember, rotation, and all rotation means is that's when the Earth is spinning. And it's when it's spinning on its axis. Remember, that's that imaginary line. And when it spins, it's going to rotate counterclockwise. When it rotates counterclockwise, that's why we experience the sun at different positions in our earth as our day goes on. So we have our sun here. The sun's light is hitting the earth, and I have labeled it here A, B, C, and D. So you should be able to tell me at what point of the earth is experiencing day right now. So which part is experiencing day? Good. If you said the side that is facing the sun, then you're correct. C is having day right now. Then we know, though, the earth's going to rotate. It's going to spin. As it's spinning from day and we're getting further away from the sun, then that's where it's going to look like the sun is setting. After the sun is set, we continue to rotate in this counterclockwise manner. And now, at point A, we are facing away from the sun. If we are facing away from the sun, are we going to get any of those sun rays? Sure not. So at point A is when they are experiencing night. And then, as we know, we're going to keep on rotating. And as we keep on rotating, we are now approaching the sun. As we approach the sun, it's going to look like the sun is rising. So at this point, we would have sunrise. Remember, sunrise is the point where we are going from night to day, and then we are right back where we're at, facing the sun, having daytime. Okay, and don't forget that since our earth rotates counterclockwise, the sun is going to rise in the east and set in the west. Okay, all right, so that is our day and night cycle. So if you have any more questions, please make sure to refer to your notes or watch one of the previous videos. All right, we're going to talk about our seasons. That's the next cycle we need to talk about. And the first thing we need to remember about the seasons is that there are 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons, and the entire cycle lasts 1 year or 365 days. So again, I revolve counterclockwise, and the earth takes an entire year to travel all the way around Mr. Sun. And we know as it travels around Mr. Sun, there's a couple of things that happen. The first thing that we need to make sure we understand is that our earth sits at a tilt, and because the earth sits at a tilt as it revolves around the sun, that is our reason for our seasons. Okay, so if we look at our diagram right here, we can see we've got the counterclockwise motion. So let's just pretend like we're starting right here with this, this position of the earth. And if this position of the earth, we are where the little red dot is. And as the little red dot in the northern hemisphere, we are currently tilted how? Good, we're tilted towards the sun. And if we're tilted towards the sun, we are going to get more of the sun's energy. So if we get more of the sun's energy, it's going to be higher temperatures, and we're going to be experiencing what season? Very good. So this right here is showing us when the northern hemisphere is having summer. But then we know we're going to revolve some more counterclockwise, and now we're going to get to this position. And if you look, the northern hemisphere is starting to tilt a little bit away from the sun. Not completely yet, but our tilt is getting further away from the sun. So as our tilt is not as close to the sun anymore, that's when we're going to have fall, or you might hear it called autumn. Okay? Then as we know, we're going to keep on revolving, and as we revolve, now our tilt is further away from the sun. So when we are tilted away from the sun, we are getting indirect light, so we are not getting as much of the sun's energy. So this is when we're having what season? Very good. This is when we are having winter, because here we're tilted away. Look at where the position is right here. We're tilted away from the sun. We're not going to get as much energy. Here we're tilted towards, so we're going to get more of that direct sunlight, and that's why we're having summer here and winter here. And then we know as we revolve counterclockwise and we get to this position with the sun, then we're going to experience, oops, I'm sorry about that. We're going to experience spring here, because we're starting, our tilt is starting to move, you know, inward to the sun, but it's not quite hot enough to be summer yet. Okay, so There you have it, the reason for our seasons, the tilt of the earth as it revolves around the sun. It is that revolution. All right, the last cycle we're going to look at is the tides. And our key information about the tides is that it's going to change every 12 to 13 hours. And remember, that's when we're talking about going from high tide to high tide or low tide to low tide. And that's going to take about 12 hours to go from one high tide to the next high tide, or one low tide to the next low tide. The other key thing to remember is that every single day we're going to have 2 high tides and 2 low tides. And those tides are caused by the pull of gravity from the moon. Okay, so we have a little diagram here. We have our moon, and we know that that moon is pulling on the earth, and that gravitational pull from the earth, or from the moon rather, is going to cause our earth to shift. When our earth shifts, it causes these bulges right here. Okay, and as you can see on this side right here on the left and on the right is where the biggest bulges are. And remember, all this blue is representing the water. Okay, and basically the gravity is just, it's not creating more water, it's just pulling that water. And depending on where the position is of the moon and the earth is going to determine if I'm having high tide or low tide. So at this point of the earth, I am closest to the moon. When I am closest to the moon, I'm going to experience what type of tide? High tide. Very good. Not only do I experience high tide at the closest point to the moon, I also experience high tide at the point furthest away from the moon. So this point would also be experiencing high tide. Okay? And in order to go, or basically what happens is the time frame is from high tide to high tide. That's going to take about 12 to 13 hours. Okay? That's half of a day. And where we get the other portion from is that these little parts in between, okay, that is going to be our low tide. And to go again from low tide to low tide, that's going to take about 12 to 13 hours. And as you can see from our diagram, I have 2 high tides every day, and I have 2 low tides every day. And these tides are caused by the gravitational pull of the moon. Okay? All right, now those are our 4 cycles. And I know that's a lot of vocabulary that we have been talking about, a lot of time frames. You'll need to make sure that you understand every single one of these cycles, and you need to make sure you have memorized the time frame that goes with every single cycle. So for example, you need to know that rotation takes 24 hours. You need to know that the revolution of the earth around the sun takes 365 days, or 1 year. You also need to know that the revolution of the moon around the earth takes 29.5 days, and that the tides change every 12 to 13 hours, and that there's 2 high tides every day and 2 low tides every day. If you have all of this vocabulary mastered that we have talked about, then you will be able to pick out important keywords. And if you can pick out those important keywords, then you're going to be able to determine exactly what cycle, so whether it's the lunar, day and night, seasons, or tide, or the motion, rotation, or revolution. Okay? You want to make sure you are familiar with all of those things in order to be prepared to be successful. So please take the time to study and make sure you understand those keywords, just like when you guys did the sort with the rotation and revolution cards, and be ready for your test tomorrow. I hope you took your notes in your journal, and let's work hard, get smart, no excuses. Remember, you have your superstar swag. You're going to stay focused. You're going to